Good morning. For once, I am angry and I'll try and encompass everything which enrages me this morning after I have reminded you that the reason that we are here today is because their men are not looking after themselves and taking anticipatory precautions as to their health and getting regular prostate cancer tests. I also must thank James McFarlane, as always, for his marvellous review and then upputting of my strange efforts. James McFarlane is a IT person who runs JDog, dog as in DOG, digital. And I love him dearly, and he looks after me so very well. I want to talk about confidence if I have time, but first I want to have a moment of real anger. I learned today, and I don't know why I wasn't aware of it before, that this government and maybe the previous two governments have cancelled the proposed 10-year cancer plan. And this was a plan drawn up after the COVID crisis was at its height, and people were looking to say, Sajid Javid in particular was looking to say, well, how can we plan ahead to deal with the omnipresent existence of various forms of cancer? And whilst I may not agree with all the various points made in this plan, there was proposed a plan, a 10-year plan. Note, we haven't got a 10-year plan for our economy, a 10-year plan for our hospitals, but we had proposed by Sajid Javid a 10-year plan to look at the various aspects of cancer and to see how better treatment could be provided, how diagnosis could be improved. And this has been cancelled. I think any member of parliament who has a relative or themselves has cancer, and I seem to remember there is a rather fine Labour MP whose name has slipped my mind, but he's a young man and he has come through cancer. Well, please get yourself onto this action and try and get the Labour Party and the Liberal Democrats to pursue this 10-year cancer plan at the earliest opportunity. And let's have an all-party support for pushing this through. It is an absolute disgrace that we are one of the countries in the European area which has the least effective cancer treatment statistics. Forgive me, I was struggling for the word for a moment. And this does not detract for 1 second against the marvellous work being carried out by UCL and the Royal Marsden, and UCL especially because they, under the guidance of Ursula McGovern and her marvellous team, Janet Fortenot, I hope I pronounced that correctly, and the chemotherapy team, Shahana and Sarah, all look after me so very well. Right, now I want to talk about something else because it only came to me over the weekend. It is confidence. Because of my strange start in life, as I've mentioned before, not having a identified father, well, he was identified, but he was killed off, and then he wasn't killed off, etc. In those days meant that, in my mother's opinion, we were socially beneath the turf. I remember one brief event, and I won't go on about it too much, Once my corps commander at school who lived nearby held a party, and for one strange reason he invited me. I loved it. I suppose I was 15 or 16. And I came back and I talked to something strange called a girl. And I liked the experience. And I said to my mother, I'd like to invite so-and-so. And I apologized to this girl for not remembering her name. I'd like to invite her around for tea. No, she said. No, absolutely not. Because of your illegitimacy, you have no social existence. And so when I was rescued, and my mother was rescued by dear Peter Mendoza, the band leader who, before the war, the Second World War, not the First World War, who married my Aunt Joyce and decided, out of extraordinary goodness, to rescue my mother and I from poverty, and sent me to school, and eventually managed to push King's School Canterbury to accept me without having any knowledge of French or Latin. But I knew eventually that being at that school did not provide confidence. So how did I know that? Because I was poor at sport. I was put in to play cricket. Obviously, you were mandated to play. I proved my incompetence by scoring 2 off the protective piece of plastic placed over my lower parts. It was decided then that I shouldn't play again. But what I did discover was boxing, and more importantly, fencing. And I was allowed to fence with all 3 weapons, épée, foil, and sabre, and became good in spite of my appallingly long body. I was good provided I kept my strength in my wrists adequate, so that I could twirl the weapons around in some sort of manic way. Small people could get underneath me and pin me to the ground, but that was beside the point. You had to take that on the chin or on the body, as the case may be. But we fenced. I was put into the school team, which was tremendous for me because I'd never been in school anything. And we fenced against 3 or 4 schools. I think Brighton was one. But what stands out for me, so memorable, was we fenced against Harrow. And we trotted along, maybe, I can't remember how many in the team, maybe 6 or 8 or 4. I can't remember. We got there, and these chaps greeted us and made us feel totally at home, and we must have been to them like people from outer planets. And they were so relaxed, they were so casual, and they were so kind. And I suddenly realized that what these Harrovians had was confidence. And so I have tried and failed, I think, to instill that confidence is vital for success and for self-well-being. And I think that if I can only, in this rather grim journey, tell you that confidence means trying to make contact with people whom normally one would never have the opportunity to meet. Try to change situations which normally people would never allow you to change. So, my dear watchers, if there are any, have confidence that you are good at what you're doing and that in some way you can help other people. Bless you all on this beautiful morning.